And we are live. The last word, LordCognito, Ebontis, Ty God Travis, fresh on that Thursday evening campfire, back in the saddle once again. How we doing, gentlemen? Let's start with the cheetah himself, Mr. Ebontis. How we doing, sir?
Doing good. Better after last week. Just slowly kind of been recovering my knee from my fall.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's honestly just been like kind of a deep bone bruise where it's just like it seems to be healing. I seem to be, walking's a little bit easy. Nothing's been too bad, a little bit of Advil is, which, trying to not even do that nearly as much. It's slowly getting better, but I know I hit it hard. So it's just like, I think it's just having a little bit of downtime. So between that and then just kind of, managing puppy stuff, I haven't streamed in like a week. I literally hadn't touched like OBS. I had still been linked up to YouTube instead of Twitch for like the past week. So I've been doing that, just kind of still working on sealing up the house and things like that for just like cracks and windowsills and stuff like that. So just kind of updating things. But I will say, kind of in my off time, I have been playing Have a Nice Death. I finally started it up because after wrapping Tunic and Neon White and then Eldest Souls, I did actually finally go through and beat that.
Nice.
Powered through on that one. Yeah, it's like once I got to a point where I kind of got a rhythm going, it was just like boss, done. It was just like kind of knocked him out. I will say, Have a Nice Death. It's early access right now, so it's not done. Hades set the bar, and I was talking about this with a friend of mine. Hades set the bar for roguelikes like through the roof. Like Hades is so well done between story, animations, the fact that like when you actually go through the loop, there's a reason to go through and go back again, and like the intermixed stories in between, and even the powers you get are really good. That set the bar insanely high. Like that's a 10. I mean, that for me would be like a roguelike masterpiece. That one deserves that one. Right now, I think this one in early access has potential to be around probably about an 8 for me, because I think it's just like it's dripping in personality is the best way I can kind of phrase that, is because you are Death, you are, dude with the scythe, and he's like fed up with work. Is the best way I can describe. He's literally like it's
already.
I mean, the death counter is like times combating burnout is literally how it's described, because the opening cinematic alone, like I have it recorded, the opening cinematic alone is, it's Death. He's going through, he's doing a little swipe, and he's like, okay, now your soul's going with me doing this. And then he gets really tired because all of a sudden it's like death, just like more and more people. So then he's like, okay, I'm going to hire all these goons. And then he's sitting at his desk, but it's like paperwork. And then he's just like stamping infinite paperwork. And then he just gets to the point where he's finally just like, all right, I'm done. So he just gets to this like burnt out, like death guy. And it's just kind of, and then all your people you kind of raised and then sent them off to do their things, they've been, going all over the place and not really doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you're kind of reeling the bosses back in that have been kind of acting out of sorts. But it's just, when you hit the pause button or when you're going between levels, the like loading music is like officey elevator music. It's just like perfectly. So it's like the Hades is too damn good to like, it's not that good, but I will definitely say like the combat is snappy. The dodge is quick. The more of these weapons I've unlocked, there are bees they're bees, whatever. I mean, it's just one of the things, but it's like they're stupidly powerful. And then you get like a build. Finally got one where I actually had a little bit of lifesteal coming back. And I've actually had quite a bit of fun. I went through and finished a full run now. So I've made it, through at least one run. It's the opening cinematic and then just the little touches of description sound similar to Death's Door. Death's Door is much more on the kind of more serious side when you get into the later part, I would say, because like when you get to the latter part of Death's Door, there's depth to like the crow and the characters, and this is a little more lighthearted the whole time through. Like Death is like pointing with this like angry office manager face type, and but just the way they kind of handle it with good combat and fun variations I've had so far. I would definitely recommend checking it out. No, it's not going to be like Hades. I can't put it that high, but I will definitely say, as it's early access now, and if they've got potential to make it, polish it up, add a little bit more, I think 7 easy for me, 8 maybe, depending on kind of where it all ends up landing. But I was like, I just enjoyed my time because it just said personality, I think, is the best way I can describe it. So I'm going to go close my door. So what about you, Travis?
I'm doing good, man.
Fresh off that Zeta Blade.
You see that? You see those calves as you walked away?
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
They're not
Yeah.
blessed with this right now. This is
Sure.
premium content.
That's good. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, man, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. There's nothing quite like getting done with a 150-hour RPG review. But yeah, man, I've been chilling. I finished that. I got my Roller Drome preview out the door. So you guys should check that out if you haven't seen it. Roller Drome is super fun. It's basically like Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but with guns. It's like you go around on rollerblades and you do tricks. In fact, doing tricks is the only way to reload your weapons. So your guns,
Okay.
you run out of ammo, and then it's like, all right, now I gotta go do a sick kickflip off of something, and then I'll get a couple shots back and then go back into it. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, now I'm working on my next review and my next preview.
Mm-hmm.
My next review I can't talk about, but it's. I think it's going to be a return to form for people who like my usual reviews. Let's just put it that way.
There is not enough ink to take these down. Okay, so here's my speculation on this one. 5 or below. 5 or below.
Okay, that's where you're going? Well, that's what you're asking.
I'm gonna guess. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I nailed the last one. I will say, because we
should all mention that.
Yeah, it was like there was. Well, I mean, we've talked enough before show. I can usually feel you'd be like, oh, dude, I cannot this game, or you won't say quite as much, or however you talk about it. So it's like I had a little context to go into it. But Xenoblade Chronicles, if you haven't watched the review, please go watch it. Very good review, but it got an 8, and I called it last week without knowing anything, and then tell the story of when I said that. Like, how close were you to making your decision?
That's right. Yeah, I think I had just locked in the score the day you guessed that, and you were like an 8, and then I just tried to not have any response on my face.
Poker face.
Right, I'm just gonna be like. As long as possible. But yeah, inside I was screaming. So thanks for that. Invalidating my 150-hour journey. It was good. I had a lot of fun reviewing that game. It is a great game if you're into JRPGs at all. It's super.
Maddie loves it. I told him you reviewed it. I told him on Duke. He just started. He's like 20-something hours in. He's all invested.
Nice, cool.
He agrees with you though.
Yeah, it's good. It's a great game. It has problems, but I would recommend anybody who likes JRPGs should play it. It's quite good. If you don't like JRPGs, you probably won't like it because it is very JRPG in certain spots. But yeah, it just sort of depends. I like JRPGs, generally speaking. I have problems with the genre as I do with any genre, but generally speaking, I like them. Yeah, and I actually have also been playing a lot of Destiny. I got so basically as soon as I was done with Xenoblade, I needed some comfort food, so I
came back home.
Hopped into Solstice, and I'm almost there. I'm almost done with that activity. I think I'm going to get the Firekeeper actually. Which is,
wow! You going for the title?
I'm just as surprised as you
I already
are.
Gilded mine. Yeah.
What? Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yvonne.
I didn't have 150 hours, so yours is more impressive, but it is. So where would you, now that you've spent a good amount of time, if you're working on the seal, where's this thing coming in for your? How's your comfort food tasting? How is this dish how's it coming in?
If you have nothing better to do and you're coming off of a 150-hour review, it's a nice way to pass the time. It's not my favorite event. I mean, it's basically just driving you toward all the stuff you've already done. I do like the changes they made to the European aerial zone in general. I think that the traversal options and the fact that it's a little faster and you're not running around hunting for chests afterwards, I think are all good.
That's a good change. I mean, I didn't mind, but it just the more you do it, it's one of those things that after a while you're like, I don't need to chase the chests again. Yeah. But then on the other side now it's just I will say this is one of the few things that's just loot vomit out of the little fire.
Yeah.
And it's it kind of feels like a Outriders thing when it's blah.
Yeah. I don't like the armor upgrade system. I think they should have kept that like it was before. It's needlessly confusing. It adds more currencies. It makes
the kindling with the kindling and the this with the that and
the burning of the ash so that you can reinforce your armor so that it's absurd. But for me it's just been super long days, and I sit down on the couch and I have like 90 minutes before I need to go to bed, and I'm just like, yo, I don't have time to get into anything, so I'm just gonna sit down and just quickly play some Destiny, and it's nice. And when are they gonna put Destiny on the Switch? That's my question.
The Switch couldn't handle it. You literally talked about that in your review, because I joked afterwards I watched it. I was like, can you imagine Xenoblade 3 just on even like a PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One X, like just like 1080p 60, just
I mean, Warframe is running on a Switch.
Yeah.
Warframe's running on a Switch.
You know what else is running on the Switch? The Witcher 3.
Okay, here's the question. Witcher 3 runs at like 540p. That's not a good example.
No, Destiny could run at 540p. What's wrong with that? It's on Switch. It doesn't have to run at
No, so 4K. Here's the question. If you have to pick, would you rather see Destiny work on the Steam Deck first or on the Switch first?
Switch.
Wow. Whoa. Let me hear this. Let me hear this. Break it down.
Steam Deck is not my favorite console for a lot of reasons. The main
you are one of the rare ones for sure. Jeez.
I own 2 of them, man. Well, what? I'm not that. I don't think I'm
agrees with you. Switch. Wow. Okay, let me hit this game.
Here's the thing. I think if you play online games, the Steam Deck is disappointing because 80% of my games don't run on the Steam Deck. And the reason
I will say the games that I like don't run on it.
Exactly. The games I most want to play do not run. And
do not run on it.
If you like single player games and you just want to go and replay all the pixel remasters of the old Final Fantasy games, like Steam Deck is awesome, and you can play a lot of the older single player games. I think that's really cool. But the thing, the screen is bad on the Steam Deck. It's like actually bad. The Switch screen is better. I mean,
you got the OLED?
I have the OLED, yeah, for the Switch.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, I ain't got the OLED. Okay.
Yeah. And the things actually look better on the Switch just from a screen perspective, even though the games obviously don't perform as well. And then also because of I was talking about this today on a Nintendo Voice chat with John Heineman from Digital Foundry. He was on the show with us.
Oh, Linneman?
John Linneman, thank you.
Oh, the homie! I love Linneman. That's
he's cool.
What is their channel?
Digital Foundry.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Wait, what was he doing over there at Nintendo? What was he doing?
He reviewed Xenoblade Chronicles 3 from a technical perspective. And actually, what's funny is that we had talked about it before we realized we were going to be on the show together. So it was like,
we're going to be on
the show together. That's cool.
That's awesome. I've had a while. I love
super cool guy. But a lot of games that run on Unreal 4 have frame rate problems, and it's especially bad on the Steam Deck, and consoles don't have that problem with Unreal 4 specifically. And so a lot of games will actually run frame wise better on the Switch, even though they run in lower fidelity. But you don't need 4K on a portable device. You can run a game at 540, and as long as the frame rate's good, the
frame's key.
It can go well. So I own 2 Steam Decks. I do not have a problem with that console. I think it's a great console, but I just, for my money, I feel like the Switch is more accessible. There's more of them out there in the hands of people. Just for all those reasons, I would rather see Destiny expand to Switch if I had to choose.
Well, for the user
you're gonna
base,
be practical about it for like user base size. Geez,
user base makes sense. Yeah, but I
gotta be all logical and stuff. I mean,
and also
my Steam Deck,
to be honest with you,
I feel you.
Either one would be great, but it's crazy that you can play Destiny on your phone and not on the Switch or the Steam Deck. That's just weird to me. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, they got to get that whole thing straightened out. Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's just been kind of
not sleeping. It sounds like. Yep.
Yeah. I was about to ask you how you're doing.
I'm exhausted. There's a lot going on. A lot of stuff. Good stuff though. Good planning. Good travel stuff planned, and good guesting stuff. But for like what's been going on. Actually, I was still in my kind of Destiny hiatus. Take a break. I got As Dusk Falls finished, which I absolutely loved. I love that game. Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. I thought, I came into that game thinking, this is just a little, little niche indie darling game that only I'm gonna like. It was one of those love at first sight. I knew when I saw it, even though people had an issue. It's gonna be one of the games, if you don't like the art style, you're not gonna get into this game. It doesn't matter what happens, right? But if you, by chapter 2, I was so invested already with what was going on and how it was presented. and it's just world class voice acting, world class acting, story, narrative, and the choices. Where it really kind of at the end of a chapter, you see all the different variants, and truly, like, the closest that I think that's done that is probably Mass Effect. When you
I was like, Detroit Become Humans.
Detroit, of course, Detroit, of course, Detroit, of course. I'm never going to disrespect Detroit, but it's like what I like is generally those type of games. You know, if you have all this choice, then it kind of condenses at the end. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Not saying it doesn't do this at all, but there are so many variants, and if people don't survive and other things, that you have drastically different experiences. And I speak to a lot of people who have finished it, and I'm like, what? That happened? And then not only that, the choice, the relationships, and then the multiplayer aspect of it takes it to a whole nother. Like, I would love to see like Trav and Miss Trav play, and then like argue over a decision, and then one uses the override over the other one. It really changes. That takes the Telltale formula to the next level. Then it has the Twitch integration, so you can play with your streaming community.
I might have to do that.
I'm like, bro, I would love to see you and Missy Ebontis play that. Like, and it's some tough, gut wrenching, really well written stuff. So I would highly advise check out As Dusk Falls. Got a chance to interview, me and Saul got a chance to interview that dev. Interior Night, a little small studio. I knew they had one. I was like, you guys got one. And I think the reason why they're able to do all the choices stuff is because of the art style. I think if they had the traditional gameplay type thing, I don't know if they'd be able to do what they're able to do. So I got that. Still been rocking the rocker. Played Power Wash Simulator.
Did you?
I did. It is actually relaxing. It's fun.
Exactly. I was like, I'm afraid to pick it up because it's going to be, I even joked with like my Discord, and I was just like, I should, because all the MCU crazy announcements came out, and I'm like, I'm not as deep on the comics books. Like King would probably like just school me for like, I would go to like King comic book school or something like that. But I mean, I feel like, because there are people in my Discord, there's Black Wings and New Rad, there's a bunch of people who know all that type of stuff. I'm like, I need to just play Power Wash Simulator and then throw them into voice chat and then just stream while we explain everything that's going to happen over the next 3 years, because Power Wash seems like that thing where you could watch like a season and be like, oh, and you've done both. Like, it's stupid. Skill Up Review, like, I think it's the fact that it's tactile and the dings happen and just it's mental, psychological incentive, right? No. And then what it is, you clean the van, and it's like, you power. What's got me mad is I'm playing with my friend. Shout out to Citizen Velicon, and they're like hardcore. No, bro, you got to change the nozzle. You're using the wrong nozzle right here. We got to get real deep with this extra. And you're like, I am doing this to relax.
I'm like, you cannot be serious. Right? You giving me the meta of Power Wash Simulator right there. That's what we really doing. Like, that's how deep it was. And they had the co-op mode, and then they getting into it. You could crouch, get into pro.
You gotta pull a soft Stradamus, and you gotta go shut off. Gotta go solo on that one and just enjoy it.
Cog, if you don't min max and play to the meta, how are you gonna get to the top of that comp?
You're checking my build.
Yeah, how are you gonna?
Going on, bro? So you got that, but I will say this, E. This is the funny part. Like I said, it's that incentive stuff, the dings and all that. But what I go for, it almost feels like when you clean something, the cleaned version looked like the most ray traced, vibrant, reflective. You felt like you did something. You're like, oh man, this looks great now. Look what I did.
Psychological satisfaction. The video game is pretty much what they finally nailed one of those.
Yeah, shout out to Best if he put me on. And then I got back to Destiny finally this week. And yes, it is done.
I heard.
The worm has been conquered.
Did you enjoy that little dude talking the whole time? He's ridiculous, right? Yeah.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yes.
Did it. It was fun. It was fun. Because what I liked is was a nice little spin with the platforming part. Like, I thought that was cool. And it was like one hit. I felt like I was playing an old arcade game. All right, jump in the pool. He's talking. Then you got to move and do these little obstacles and foolishness. Look, it was hilarious. And we got a little extra content on Savathun, which was good, and The Witness, which was good. Now that weapon, I don't know about just yet.
Okay, I will say it has specific uses. Like, I've actually used it in Val on, what is it, the Totems encounter? Is that the first one, the main one?
Yeah.
So like I'll just leave it in my back pocket, just mow down the little guys, and then all of a sudden like a champion spawns, just one worm like times 20, gone. Just deletes big guys if you stack them up.
So
That's
you're doing this stack.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's like it's not meant to be because the reload's awful. That I get, but it's like if you just have it sitting in the chamber, I think it's got auto loading holster on it too. But yeah, if you go stack 20 and then all of a sudden you switch over, it just deletes whatever is in that zone because it hits like a truck.
Yeah,
That's what I've used it for, but I haven't used it for much else.
The fun thing, yeah, I jumped in, get my solstice on, throwing bonfires and messing around. And I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for the next season. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'm ready.
There are 3 more weeks left of the season after this one. It's like, it's feeling like
it's downtime.
We got some downtime. Yep.
It's downtime for me. Mm-hmm. But anyway, silence on the set.
Oh, no.
Silence. Okay.
Oh, no,
just
okay. My dogs, and I'm trying not to.
Oh, you muted. Okay. I was like,
yeah. No, but
yeah, he looks really concerned.
Yeah, like
I always have like my ear like slightly off so I can hear what's going on in the other room between dogs barking. Is it playing or what's going on? Because Huskies play rough. They just do. I mean, most people would look at Huskies and be like, you need to break that up. I'm like, that's normal. That's nothing. So like, that's normal. It's like, and you just got to make sure you don't hear that like tone change. Then you're good. Yeah. No, it's high pitched usually. If it goes high. Oh yeah, when it's a yelp or
a bit too hard or whatever. Like
So wait, Puppy ain't playing nice. What's going on with
they do. No, they do. It's just that moments where, he like Enzo's like 70 pounds and he's about 40. So he's poking the bear sometimes, and sometimes the bear pokes back and he's like, oh shit.
Yeah,
so
I got you.
Sometimes it's one of those moments more, but he's also kind of one of those like, well, Husky who cried wolf is bad choice of words, but it's like every so often he'll be like, ah! And he's like, okay, it wasn't that. And then I'll see him just like walking around and be like, dude, what happened? Nothing. So he's kind of a big chicken sometimes. So it's just like, but it's always just gotta, they can, it's good to have them play.
Yeah. Like the dad seeing the kids.
It's like, this is how I play like 90% of the time is 1 on, 1 off. So I can hear the rest of the house usually. And that's just why.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it's like I got over my ladder issue, installed a ceiling fan. I don't even know if you remember the house, like the living room. Yeah. It's like a 13, 14 foot ceiling.
Yeah, very
high.
I
finally had to replace that ceiling fan. So that took better part of one of my days, but I finally got that thing done. It just finally was crapping out. And it just gets to the point where like, do what?
Sorry, I was gonna say, I just love how often you have stories that are house maintenance.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
This dude is like assembling furniture and climbing up ladders, and like this, your wife just has you going to work, man. She's like,
Dad Bontis.
Dad Bontis. Thank you.
Do a room addition.
When either of you own a house, and unless you're just like, I'm going to pay someone to do everything. If you're not that guy, which these two probably are.
Oh yeah. Do I look like I've worked a day in my life? Look how soft my hands are. Look at these.
I remember meeting you. Yeah, your hands were rather soft.
Oh damn!
No,
why you gotta do them like that?
No,
I was joking. I was leaning into it. I actually don't even remember. So
versus his butt cheek, they were extremely soft.
That's hands. True. Yeah, I was like, you gotta be careful. It bites back.
The reverberation across the convention.
Yeah. But no, it's like you can go like. I at some point had to replace the first thing I probably did in my house was a toilet. And it's like, you look, honestly, there's so many YouTube videos. It's like, what does it cost? Like pay somebody $200 or $300 to install a toilet, or is like buy the toilet and it takes like an hour and it's done. And it's not even difficult. It's just like a little bit of time and you're good. So it starts with one thing. And the next thing you're like, all right, can I do this or can I not? And there are things I'm like, nope, it's out of my realm, but there's some things I do.
For the home improvement channel with Ebontis. Let's go.
No, there is some
dad mode.
No, you watch the professional home improvement people. That is a whole different ball of wax. So
I'm telling you, very, very, very particularly.
It's a crowded space, Cog. It's a crowded space.
Listen, he got into destiny. He can get over there, man. I'm telling you, man.
I don't know. You got to know your strengths.
Who's the dad over there?
Rule it. I like Mike. Mike in chat was like, the rule is each job requires a new tool. And that's kind of a toilet, wax ring, whole lot of YouTube. Yep, that's a toilet. Exactly.
Shout out to Sarko. Shout out to no doubt.
But yeah, it's like you get to a point, you finally get an electric drill or whatever, and you're like, oh, I use this thing like all the time now. It's like I never had it before, and you're like, this is the best thing ever. So it's just like stupid things is you own a house that crap is just going to happen like that. And finally you're like, I don't want to wait on, a plumber who's going to take a week. It's like, just let me fix my toilet. It's fine. So.
Respect.
I have to come out as a fraud. I actually
what you do?
I do maintain my house. My dad was a carpenter, and I was forced to learn the tools of the trade, and so I play a character on the show sometimes. I'm not actually.
What? Travis plays a character at times?
Stop.
Sometimes I thought he'd just like poking the bear to see what happened. I'm sorry, sack of meat.
I was gonna let it stand, but my next preview is Construction Simulator, wherein I'm gonna heavily reference the fact that I worked in construction for like 5 summers. So I can't just pretend like I just never.
When you had the hard hat and you broke the suit protocol. What were
you doing? Like what piece of construction were you doing?
The show. Let's go. There was a time. There was a timeline.
Yeah.
Where Tie Guy Travis wore non-suits, non-ties, and wore.
Oh no, he came out of the womb in a suit. That's just how that happened.
How did this happen?
So I wore a suit, but I replaced my slacks with jeans. So I had like darker jeans on. And belt.
Okay.
And then depending on the job, I would wear a helmet or not. My dad wasn't really a helmet guy because he's a man's man. If you ever met him, you'd be like, that guy does not follow safety rules.
Yeah, he's definitely breaking safety protocol.
His entire personality, yeah. So
you had the vest though. You had the vest.
Had the vest on. I wore a tool belt. I know what all those tool belts do. Yeah, dude.
Okay, so what was you did 5 years? Like, what was your specialty? Were you like hanging drywall, doing roofing, plumbing? What were you doing?
I was doing a little bit of everything. I'm good at framing. I also did foundation, like digging and doing like.
Okay. What about that sheetrock? You doing that sheetrock?
Like drywall. Not. I mean, we
drywall
did stuff with
sheetrock.
It
is sheetrock.
Yeah.
I just like saying sheetrock. That's what I want.
Sheetrock. Yeah. There's my dark secret is that I actually am pretty handy around the house.
You got pictures? You got pictures of that?
I mean.
You gotta dig in the crate. I'm pulling up.
All you gotta do is ask his girlfriend and be like, all right, is he handy or not? Because she's gonna tell you straight.
She doesn't even know who I am. Like she doesn't have those photos. No, those photos are probably on like a Motorola Razr, in 2007 or something. Like
back in
so
the day,
far away. There's no way. So, anyway,
no doubt. Anyway, what else is going on besides home improvement?
Yeah, home improvement, random Destiny pot. Yeah, see, this is what happens when we don't have a guest, guys. Sorry.
Yeah,
things happen. Some of you guys may have heard guest that was supposed to be on. We'll work on rescheduling for the future. Things just happen. No big deal. But yeah, all of the preamble out of the way. Big thing that happened today is a TWAB. Outside of Solstice is still going on. Or if you haven't done it yet, you can still grind for armor. I mean, obviously, Artifice Armor from Master Dungeons is going to be your optimal, but if you are trying to make a certain stat build for a certain situation, you can lean pretty heavily into a very specific set of stats that you want. It's really up to you guys. Shout out to MRI Gamer real quick with the super chat for $5. Thank goodness Bungie is finally doing SBMM. Now I don't have to play with sweaties like Travis, and we will get to that because a large chunk of this TWAB, and it's a pretty lengthy one, is about matchmaking. But the first piece is about Raid the Date. So coming up in Season 18 will be our second go at bringing back a raid out of the Destiny Content Vault. And this time it's going to be redacted. To no surprise, to me at least. I loved on Twitter, people were like,
predicted this. Yeah. I saw you predicted this right before.
Yeah, you did predict it. Yeah.
I mean, I've been saying it for everywhere. I was like, I saw people like, oh, we're going to get to know. We're going to get to know on the 12th. I'm like, no, we're not. They're not going to tell you until the 23rd. It's like, don't get your hopes up. They will tell you the date. They will tell you the time. They might tell you level and challenge mode. And they did. Are they going to tell you what raid? All that's coming in the showcase. And sure enough, I was dead on. So the weird one, and I wanted to ask your guys' thoughts on this one. The raid is on Friday, 3 days after the season launches. So I think VOG, we got that like 10-day window, right? We got longer on VOG, I feel.
I think so.
And then, of course, with the expansion, they will do the 10 days, so you get a chance to do that one. But they have been on Saturdays for a little while. So I wanted to get your guys' thought on the shift to Friday. Because a couple of people hadn't cared, some do. my personal opinion,
Like a step backwards. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I
mean,
feel like the Saturday is just a more inclusive day generally. Not for everybody, but generally a Saturday would be more inclusive. I didn't know if you guys had any idea why you think they went with Friday.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think definitely a step back. Saturday is the day to do it. I mean, you get the most engagement, and people work. like they
Yeah.
acting like people not working. Like, okay, so to me, correct me if I'm wrong. When's the date? There's the 26th, right? So now we look in 20.
Shout out real quick. Hold on.
Right.
Shout out to Scott Schultz with the $50
wow.
super chat. Always love your content. Thanks for the years of good stuff. Thanks for
That's
watching
great.
my channel for years, because yeah, it's been going for a bit. So Scott, thank you very much. Lots of love. Appreciate that one. Any of you guys who watch the show, watch, you know, Travis's reviews or Cogs or any of my videos, thank you guys for the support as always. When you guys go above and beyond like that, it's kind of humbling. So thank you all for the super chats and just being here for any of you guys in chat. But damn, thank you.
Yeah,
Anyway, back to where you were.
Nothing going on in Destiny.
Do what?
Yeah.
Good.
My guess with the date change is that it's better for their team. It's not about the players. I think it's probably their team doesn't like working on Saturdays, and probably launching a raid requires a lot of coordination and working on the weekend, and that's probably what it came down to, is my guess.
They said, all right.
Nobody wants to work Saturdays, right?
Yeah, it's so weird though. I think also too we got to factor in that showcase, because that showcase is the 23rd, right?
Yeah, it's Tuesday the 23rd when the season goes live. Yeah.
That's my, I think, for like Travis said, this is aligning with his thinking with the team, because they're gonna have to present. They got a big splash they want to make in conjunction probably with the season, and then this raid adds the extra layer to it. So it's probably just too much with the alignment, and maybe they just said, okay, you know what, we have to drop it Friday. But I'm curious now if it's a specific raid, if a specific raid has any factor into
I doubt it does, honestly. I feel like before that they've said that the vaulted raids are not going to come back with any tie into story.
Right.
I mean, if this is like, hey, this is Steven, we get Wrath of the Machine, I feel like that would be a massive coincidence, but I still don't even think they would tie the raid into the story.
Right, yeah. That
like,
part I'm just...
But it can't be Siva, right? Because we know the next expansion is Witness.
I mean, it's Lightfall, so doesn't mean we don't have some connection to...
That would be crazy if they're like, Siva's back.
Well, I mean, who's the War Mind?
Rasputin?
Yeah, like Rasputin somehow like harnesses the technology. Like, I mean, there have been jokes like that could be an interesting thing that you could ever do, but I still don't think there's going to be a story tie-in. If there's any Siva related stuff, it's still going to be separate. Yeah. Would be the idea.
Look, always going to respect the team. I do think it's a mistake to not do a raid on a Saturday though. Like they had the nice cadence.
I mean, they've done them for it's been that way for a little while. I feel because VOG was.
I'll forgive them because it's a re-release. Like, you know, it's, to me, maybe this is just my perspective, but I don't think it's that sacred because it's a raid we've already played. You know, it's just
people want that title and the little, you know how them hardcore dudes, you know how they get.
Yeah, those people will take a day off. You know what I mean? Those people will take.
Apparently, Hippie, what I think her name is Liana. Is that right? Confirmed on Twitter that if something is as broken as VOW, much easier for them to have all hands on deck on a Friday. So for them to have a response to possible needed changes or hot fixes or something along those lines, they would have more staff on. I mean, that's one of those where you kind of get, there's always, I mean, I've heard you talk about it probably in everywhere you've had podcasts, is the idea of crunch. Oh, yeah, working your overtime in certain situations is kind of part of the job sometimes. And it's just like, this is your live service. Is it too much to ask for a Saturday? Because, I mean, you went from like 5,000 and 3,000 to like 30,000 people being involved in Vow of the Disciple. It was one of the biggest ones I think they had done between the Saturday inclusion and 10 days and things of that nature. So I don't know. For me, I get the idea of staffing to a point. I know they're trying to respect their staff, and I know the showcase is going to be kind of a big deal. But as big as they tend to promote raid races themselves, it does feel like having more inclusion in it would probably be beneficial for them, because you just have more people going for it. And the other thing also with this is it's Friday. You literally have 72 hours to now do your story quest, which probably isn't going to take that long. But then it's like, now it's just even shorter time frame to power through the artifact and get your mods that you may want that far tier on. People are going to be stacking bounties this time because you only have 3 days instead of 10. Now, granted, the reason it's probably not 10 is because of Labor Day. I saw somebody else mention that in chat. So Labor Day is probably an issue, but now it's even shorter. So
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like it's not going to come off great. I think the bigger tell would be when Lightfall's raid launches. If they do that on a Friday, then we'll know the Saturday experiment didn't hold. Right. But
yeah, and to me, it's very strange because they were boasting about how much engagement numbers they had when they went to Saturday. And remember when Deep Stone Creek, this was the most we've ever seen, and this is how, like, so they've shown that they've had great numbers with it. Look, I'll respect the team if you, what's her homegirl? I forget her name. You said that. Liana, right? If she said that, of course I'm going to believe what Liana said. I'm not going to go against it. It is just strange. So I wonder if, like I said, with the Gamescom, well, not Gamescom, but with the Lightfall reveal and everything just being too close of proximity, that made sense for the team. But I'm curious after that also, is this going to be a Friday cadence? Because I don't know if I like Fridays moving forward again. That's like the old days. I want to get back to the Saturdays. So let's see.
Let's see. Part of the feedback or part of the challenge of a game like Destiny 2 is that we have 2 very different communities. There are and will be challenges. Oh, that's probably SVMM. I was trying to find the part where it was talking about rage.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it for you guys. So, oh, hold on. What's the middle ground on making the raid a weekday when vast majority of people work Monday? Because we also work Monday through Friday, and remember how broken Val was when it dropped. This way, something like that happens. We have all hands on deck without burning out our teams.
Yeah, makes sense.
There you have it.
It's a practical reason, but I still think it's worse.
I agree.
For the player.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I was like, that's kind of thing is not everybody works Monday through Friday, but a lot of them do. Yes, they do, and they would have more hands on deck to fix things, but also, I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, see how feedback is. That was, it at least makes sense. Now we have some context as to the reason. No day is going to be perfect, but I guess for them, if it helps make it smoother, then so be it. The other piece is all about matchmaking.
Oh boy.
So they kind of do a TLDR, and then we'll kind of break things into pieces. Starting in Season 18, we will be introducing some changes in how we play matchmaking in Crucible. This will be the first iteration that is part of a larger plan going through Season 19. Our World Systems teams are leading the charge on this transition, and here with a massive info dump, basically. So the TLDR is we're striving towards a goal that all players, including new lights, can enter the Crucible and regularly get matches where they can feel competitive and have a reasonable chance of winning / competing. Making fair matches using skill-based matchmaking is going to be important to help meet that goal. We are starting by implementing loose skill-based matchmaking to control playlists at the start of Season 8, or to the control playlist, I'm sorry, at the start of Season 18. Loose SBMM has a wider starting skill similarity than survival, so it should result in matchmaking with a wider variety of players, while also eliminating some of the frustration things. Kind of when I was actually playing, I think True Vanguard, when we were playing, the one thing I liked kind of the way he phrased it was just outliers. Like a 1 should not play with a 10. Like 3 through 10, 1 through 7, I can kind of see a pretty big range, but a 1 and a 10 shouldn't be in the same match. So, in theory, most of the people who have schooled me in the PvP segment I shouldn't be playing against them is the idea. Expect loose SBMM to expand to other playlists in future seasons as we tune what we consider a high-quality match by gathering real data and feedback from you. We are not planning to add it to every match-made Crucible playlist. We will continue tuning until we are in a good place. We will report tuning updates regularly. We'll be implementing a form of fire team size preferred matchmaking in Season 19. So that'll be a big piece as well. So high points, they go in details of connection quality and creating high quality matches, match fairness, and matchmaking speed. So they say there are 2 types of connections that are important: connection to the game server, connection to all other players. Generally bad connection to other players have a larger feedback on or effect on Crucible, basically because most of Destiny is PV or player-to-player matchmaking. Lower quality matches result in jerky movements. We get that one. Match fairness. Ideally, all players in a match have a reasonable chance to win. And then matchmaking speed, how long it takes you to find a match. So just kind of in an overall sense, how does some of this stuff come across to you in kind of the TLDR? Travis, I know, got to go to you first. Where do you, in even just the TLDR sense of this, come across in reading? Does this sound like something that might have some potential? Do you like it, hate it? Where do you love it?
Yes, this needs to happen. I mean, the current model of having, well, depending on what you think is actually true, it's either the Wild West, which is a terrible way to create matchmaking. I mean, it's not really matchmaking if you're just grabbing 6 random people and then or 12 random people and then doing a snake draft. That's basically just a grab bag methodology, which some people suspect is a thing. I also kind of think that that's how it works. I think it just has some sort of like very vague grouping, and then it just grabs people and then does like a snake draft. Other people suspect that it works by grabbing people of higher skill and of lower skill and trying to like mix them all together. That's terrible because it means that the people who aren't as good have basically no impact on the match. They have no control over whether they can help them win or I mean, sure, they will help them lose, but they can't really have any influence in the match, unfortunately. And so I get why people are wary of skill-based matchmaking. Part of it is that streamers that have a vested interest in skill-based matchmaking not existing have convinced other people that skill-based matchmaking is bad. Even though it would help them more than anyone else. But the other part is that, some games have done it poorly, including Destiny in the past. And when it's poorly implemented, it can be a painful experience. But, the headline should be skill-based matchmaking has to exist if you want matches to not feel completely hit or miss and not fair, right? And so their intention is noble. I think it needs to happen if you want to have a competitive multiplayer in your game. Whether or not they're choosing the right way to implement it remains to be seen, but I'm happy that they are actually thinking about it and doing something to go in this direction, because it needs to happen. I mean, it just needs to. The current situation is not good. I don't think anybody thinks that matches feel amazing right now, except for probably streamers who absolutely benefit from a lack of skill-based matchmaking. But yeah, dude, we need something like this. So I'm happy that they're doing it.
No, I'm sorry. Finish, Trav. You say you happy you're gonna?
No, I'm just happy. I'm happy that they're tackling it. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, say something funny. I feel like, look, got pat the last word on the back a little bit. I feel like there's one show that has been fighting this fight for a long time. Even when there's no PvP topics, we mention PvP. You know what I'm saying? So, look, Of course, the community is on it, of course. But where's some credit? We've been on it, man. We've been on it about, the neglect. So this was a refreshing TWAB, and I know we got more to read. But from so far, this is refreshing because what I like when you get to tell me from a PvP standpoint, your mindset. That's the thing I always feel is disconnect. We don't know what they're doing. They just, we made some changes in the back, but what's the mindset? What's the thought process? Now we're seeing, okay, stuff we probably assumed, right? But it's good to see it right now. Okay, part of this is matchmaking time. Part of this is connection based. Part of this, okay, we want to implement skill-based matchmaking on some level in this one playlist, and here's why, right? And that's how you start bridging the gap from a group that is severely neglected, right? That doesn't feel they get the same attention. Me and Travis talk about the daddy example. Like, they don't feel like the other kids. Like, we just don't. So when I see this, I'm like, that's what I want to see. Now, I know a lot of PvE guys in the chat, they already read the top this week. I stopped reading after paragraph 1. But this is how we feel when the 12s are dominated by PvE content. And rightfully so. It's great content. But overall, look, this is a great start. What I like is the measured approach, not heavy-handed so far. You know what I'm saying? Throw it in one playlist. Let's see how it goes. It looks like they're going to take feedback. The thing that's key for me, though, is all this is great, but the fire team stuff, to me, adds another wrinkle. I know we're going to talk more about it because we know how it is when you match, you already with your guys, and your guys are all of varying. Think about when you play a banner or something. Sometimes you have those parties where you got varying skill levels. Like, I'm like the third, I'm number 5, right? And I got like 2 killers with me. And then we got one guy's like, hey, I'm just here for the fun. And, he don't really play PvP, right? Let's be honest. We got that guy. So that's how I want to see how they tackle that. Because I'm not saying there's an easy answer for any of this, but I want to see how they tackle it.
That's not really matchmaking, though, Cog. Mm-hmm. If you were in a party full of people and they have varying skill sets, you've already decided to override the matchmaking mechanic in the game. And at that point, you probably should go up against other people who have made that decision. It's a lot harder of an algorithm, but you basically are operating outside of matchmaking. Matchmaking, what I'm concerned with is like the average player who is just hopping into a queue, which I think this group right here, isn't that how most of us play PvP?
Well, most of us hit it now.
You hit into it. I gotta imagine that's the way most people experience PvP.
And I'm in agreement. That's why the reason why I mention it is because of the key bullet point. We will be implementing a form of fire team size preferred matchmaking. The fact that they were cognizant of that to me was very telling. I'm like, okay, you even thinking about that. So now I'm getting excited. You're like, again, it's early, but I got a lot more to say. We got a lot more to read. Yeah. But I'm just curious where you're at with the initial opening statements.
I mean, generally I'm the same way. It's like, I don't know. It's one of those things. I've heard different sides of the argument. That's why I do want to pull together a few different PvP minds and have them on the podcast to talk about this, because some people are
connection-based crew too, just for fairness.
No, it's like, I mean, connection, skill, somewhere in between. I mean, some people like Drewski, I think, is one to a point. He's like, hey, whatever helps the population of the playlist, he's kind of on board for it, just kind of helping it grow and things of that nature. And shout out real quick to Zinthos, new channel member. Thank you very much. But that's kind of thing. It's like, as Travis is saying, it's like the high skill people have the issue that skill-based matchmaking is going to put them into basically matches where they don't get to let off the gas. And to a point, I understand that statement, because if you're not, and especially as this game leans very heavily into the meta, Scott with the super chat and the membership, thank you. The game leans heavily into the meta. And then at this point, if you take high skilled people or people who are just like up at that level, you get people at a point where if they go to, say somebody like an Ascendant Nomad wants to go test all the pulse rifles, he's going to go into PvP. And if he's not using the elite stuff in something that's skill based, it makes it very difficult for him to experiment on something that even has like off perks. So it's like, I get that discussion, but that small collection of people sometimes does have to remember the other 80% doesn't like getting crapped on when, you have that one person who goes into a match, and you'll see some statistics in here where it's like the kill differential is like 20 to 29 or 30 to 39. If somebody has 11 and somebody else has 50, person in 11 is having a much worse day than the person at 50 who might now have to go fight it out for like everybody being around that 25 to 30 range. So I've always been around the idea of like skill-based matchmaking does need to exist somewhat. And I think, again, the way they're phrasing this, the loose SBMM, feels like a decent way to start. Now, there are a couple statements in here that I do have some questions about, and we'll get to those. But the idea of loose SBMM as a place to start, I think helps with those outliers, because if you take a skill pool of 1 to 10, just basic numbers, a 1 should never be in a match with a 10, period. But then on the other side, the 10 shouldn't have to be paired with a bunch of 1s to try and go against like 5s and 6s, and then most of you guys are still going to lose because the 1 can't carry an entire team. So it's like, those are the type of things that kind of need to be addressed, and it seems like they're mentioning both the party size, the snake matchmaking. We'll have to see if that, like, how that kind of gets handled, but also the skill should help, narrow down that pool. So even if you do a snake, it's a better pool to do that within.
Yeah. The snake a snake draft only really works if there are people of somewhat in the same sphere of skill with one another, because otherwise it's too much of a crapshoot.
Yeah, gap is really big.
So they say throughout the TWAB we'll be using the term skill, and they basically refer it to a plus to minus 1,000 skill bell curve. To no surprise, there's a bell curve in there. And they say internal skill is a combination of stats made up on kills, deaths, captures, round wins, revives, dunks, etc. that rank you against other players in a match. They also see if there's other things. There's also a confidence rating. The more games the system has seen you in recently, then the more confident the skill adjustment is. So like if you played a whole lot like 3 seasons ago, it's not going to be quite as like really hardcore on that one versus if you're a very active player.
I want my confidence stat. I like that.
Well, okay, this will get to one of the lines that I have an issue with in a second.
Let's go.
In addition to the stats mentioned above, skill encompasses all sorts of things. Your reaction, times, agility, how you approach. I mean, that's just ask any of the PvP like Nomad or Physics or any of the people that we've had on there. And it's like, you know, the 80-20 rule. How do you play? How much air mobility do you take into account? Like, are you building into airborne effectiveness so you can be that, you know, top 5% that actually uses the verticality in the game? That's a whole different piece that they can't really measure as much, but that's part of the performance. One of the first lines that I read that I didn't love, though, is you won't ever see a skill value in-game. Now, they mentioned something like ELO. That's something that's done by like Destiny Tracker and stuff, and that's not what they use specifically for skill. But that line right there makes me worry about what we've talked about. Ever seeing a ranked playlist actually exist because you see a number. And if they don't ever want to, now maybe that skill value specifically about kills, deaths, that behind the ones we won't see, and maybe the ranking we will, but that just has me worried that they still don't ever want to attach a number to you because they're afraid to number you. Does that make sense? I know that sounds oddly generic.
I don't read that as them not wanting to implement a tier-based ranked system.
Okay, good.
Because that does not speak to your skill. All it speaks to is how high you've managed to climb in this season. It's very different from like your season level being above your character's head versus it giving you like some sort of number for what your stats are in PvE.
Yeah, you're a 3.78. You're like, I don't know what that means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to give a little context to this, just because I have talked to lots of Bungie employees about this, like, you know, back in the before times, before COVID, when I would go to the Bungie offices pretty frequently, I used to hear people ask them about ELO. They would ask them about the skill rank system, and Bungie employees honestly would sometimes be a little hostile to people who brought that up. They would just immediately like throw it away and be like, we don't look at that. We don't consider that a real stat, blah, blah, blah. Because it was a fan created stat, right? And obviously there's some math behind it. It's a real thing, but the way that they think about it is that it's not part of their game design. And anytime somebody would ask them about it, they would just say like, get out of here with that. And these were people who were representing the PvP team, PvP leadership and sandbox, and that sort of thing. So I think what they're trying to say with that statement is that their position has not changed on that they do not consider that stat to have any merit, and that they don't plan on incorporating it with their game or their game design. And I think that's the right call. I think you let people decide their own skill level season to season, and you know, let them move up and down that ladder, but that doesn't mean you have to attach a ranked level or a ranked grade on 1 to 10 or anything like that. And I actually think that something like that would kind of suck. You know, somebody in the comment section said, "Oh, I really missed the 50 skill, 50 levels from the Halo 2 competitive days." I do too. Like, part of me feels that, but also competitive online gaming has evolved so much since that point, and I don't think that we have to go back to that. I think there's better ways to do it that are more practical and less. I don't know how to describe it. It's more just that I need to write this down at some point. At some point I'm gonna write an op-ed for IGN on this. But yeah, I think that they're looking at it more holistically on like how do we use skill-based matchmaking to make Crucible matches feel better without making it a pecking order.
Yeah, that's the way that makes sense. Yeah. So whatever they do come up with a skill value from all of their statistics, we don't need to see that. But that doesn't mean we're not going to get a ladder ranking system. They can be mutually exclusive.
Right. So that's what I was about to say. Okay. Yeah, I was literally about to say that.
And
that's the vibe I got from it.
Yeah, and they said, and while we currently only using it to try and get fair matches in survival and elimination, they track it for all modes, including Gambit, and it gives us a reasonable place to start up for Rift or zone control, things of that nature. For example, remember, it's a bell curve. The middle is basically 0. They say a lot of people sit at about 100. but you go all the way up to 1,000 or minus 1,000. And the way they describe it is if someone is 200 skill above you, you can definitely tell they are better than you and they will win 75% of the engagements. The opposite is true of someone 200 below. If you get up to about a 400 difference in skill, the better players are going to win about 90% of the time. And if you get up to about 600, they're basically going to win every time if you're the 600 skill above. So that's the range you're looking at. So if you're a 200 going against an 800, you probably don't have much of a shot from what they see in general. Yeah, you might win every blue moon or get like a lucky snipe or something, but most of the time, yeah, you're probably going to lose that. But if you're close, engagement should get fairer the closer you get to the same skill. So the problem space, as we get started looking at competitive landscape, we noted a few things. Outside of survival and elimination, the ability to influence whether your team wins or loses is usually out of your personal control if you are average skill or below, half of the population. Do you guys think that's a reasonable statement? Do you feel if you average jump into a Crucible match, you don't have a lot of control over the outcome?
I'm going to say, I'll speak for myself and myself. And so I agree with that. I feel like my experiences with Destiny PvP lately, and I'm not no god tier person, but when I'm playing, for example, in let's say the Trials playlist and I'm doing freelance, and I feel like I'm carrying, and like, I'm just like, damn, like, who am I matched with? Like, I just feel like I don't have anyone comparable, and it's not a good sign to me. Like, I don't feel like it's just, it doesn't matter. Like, it's like I could be playing. I feel good as a skill that I'm doing what I can, but I'm like, I look at the outcome. I'm like, and I know I'm like, damn, we're not. It doesn't matter. We're not gonna win this match. There's no way, no how, based on, not to be disrespectful, who I match with. And I feel like when I play, I don't get, I hate to say it, the guys that I feel like, oh, okay, that guy's good. Like, I get it becomes rare. Like, I'll look as soon as the match start with load in, I'll look at the three, and what I usually do is I start to watch movement, right? And I look at who got picked first, and then sometimes I'm like, okay, this guy's getting picked a lot. I'm gonna go trail him and help him out. You know what I mean? So that I could try to keep him alive, because at least maybe we got this one guy seems semi decent, right? My experiments have been like, damn, like, I just feel like I'm not really playing with anyone close to my skill level. I'm not that good. So what's going on with matchmaking? So yeah, I do feel a lot at times that I don't get, I don't feel like what I did is really going to change this outcome of this match.
No, I mean, I kind of get that point. Like, we joke about me. I feel like I'm probably like right around that like 1.0, 1.1. Like, I do okay, and depending on the match, sometimes I get crapped all over, and then sometimes, but it's the point where I feel like if I'm leading our side, I feel like we're probably going to lose. Yes. Now, if I'm sitting at like, I'm feeling good, I'm sitting at like 3 and there's 2 other gods on my team, then we probably crapped on the other team. But if I'm leading our team, that's probably going to be a loss. And I don't even know if that's 100% accurate, but that somehow feels like if I'm the top player on our team, I feel like we are not destined to do great unless like it's like that one miracle lobby and you're like, somehow we pulled but that does not happen often. That's
it's so rare that I'm like, yo, I'm befriending this guy right now. And I'll be like, after, like, yo, what you doing? You want to run? And I got a couple of PlayStation guys and we rocked out. Because other than that, it's so far between. Again, it's anecdotal because it's only my experience, but that's how I feel probably the last 2 to 3 seasons. Yeah, like that's how I feel. Like in the Trials game mode specifically. But I'm curious about Trav too, how he feels about that in general with his experience.
Yeah, my experience is more like the biggest problem to Destiny's PvP, which there are a lot of problems. There's support, there's the still using peer-to-peer servers. I mean, let's be honest, the Destiny's got a lot of problems. But to me, the biggest problem that they're facing is matches never consistently feel good. Either I'm on a team where I'm just destroying the other team, and it's like not even fun, or I'm on the other end of it where I'm doing okay, but the rest of my team is struggling, and I'm just watching us just get destroyed in the scoreboard, and there's no chance for me to win. And those are 2 hells, really, because I don't want to pub stomp people. That's not why I play PvP. If I wanted to do that, I would go and log on to Halo Infinite and play against bots, right? You can get the same level of satisfaction just killing, really, really poorly programmed bots if you want to do that. But I also don't want to feel like matches are unwinnable, and that has nothing to do with my skill level. Because who here hasn't played in a match where they felt like they could beat every single person on the enemy team in a 1v1, but they're losing the match terribly because their team just can't keep it together. Yeah. And that's also a terrible experience. And I would just like it to be more consistent. And the only way you do that is you narrow the pool to try to actually match people based on their relative skill levels and make matches fair. And then the people always say like, oh, Travis, you want, every match to be like a sweat fest. Well, yeah, some of them. Certainly at the level that I'm playing at, well, I'm not going to say like right now I'm a god. I've played less Destiny this year than I ever have, and just in general, my skills declined over the years. And anyway, but at the level that I'm playing at, it probably a lot of the matches would be sweaty with skill-based matchmaking, but that's also what I want. I want to feel like I'm getting better, and that each match is a close call, and that it's exciting, and I'm actually sharpening my skills. And if you're at the bottom of the pool, you'll have a very different experience, but at least you're going to be playing with people in your bracket, and that's how you get better. You're never going to get better playing against people who are way better than you or way worse than you. That's just not a good way to play the game. So I just think people say that skill-based matchmaking is going to ruin things, and I'm going to say, first of all, there's nothing to ruin. The experience is very bad. It's not like we can implement skill-based matchmaking and matches would somehow be even more inconsistent. That's not really on the table, I think. And what do you want from competitive? Do you want it to be a grab bag of craziness, or do you want it to feel like a competitive match?
Yeah, like, bro, I'm with you, because it's like, again, I play trials fairly consistent, and to me, it's a better alternative when it's like, 3-2. All right, damn, we messed up that one. Next round. Okay. It just feels better. You know what I'm saying? I don't consider that, oh my God, super sweaty. And if people consider that super sweaty, the alternative of getting wiped out 5-0 for like the majority of your day, bro. You know what I'm saying? And like, don't get me wrong. And then to the point, the opposite. Okay, let's say you are stomping. You do your stomp, you get your joint, and you out, right? You really, you know what I'm saying? Like, so to me, at least when there's a little push-pull, right, it's more of an excitement factor. And then also people are trying to get better. Like, I prefer it. You know what I'm saying? I don't see why. Well, I have my theories, you know what I'm saying? But, why there's such an opposition to it, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it's like you want to improve, you want to get better. So, yeah, I'm with all of this. That's where I'm at. And I like that they're going to at least do it in one mode. That to me at least is a good start. Let's see how it looks first before we throw stones and tomatoes at the screen, and then let it play out. Let them tweak.
Yeah. Also, just what have you got to lose? That's what I have to say.
Yeah.
Does anyone feel like their current matchmaking is good? Even people who are against skill-based matchmaking, do they think matchmaking in Destiny now is good?
If it ain't freelance, I ain't playing. That's where I'm at right now. I don't know about you, E, with trials. I gotta keep my trials.
Super unbalanced, though.
True. You still have some unbalanced weirdness, but it's like, I'd rather deal with that hell than the Wild Wild West. And I'm like, I'm never paired with anyone decent. And it's like, here come the 2-stack, here come the 3-stack. And I'm just like, today's gonna suck. And then I was like, all right, I'm logging off. I did what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? But E, where you at with that as far as like just the feel and everything?
No, I mean, I'm in the same boat. Trying to like reach out to Shadow because he jumped in. Because he's in here, the debate against once again.
Oh,
I was like, I know there are people, and that's always, again, that's why I want to get that like collaboration of like different minds to see. But for me, and again, personally, I'm average. So it's like, for me and that average player, it does feel like there are times where it's like, I feel like I'm hitting the shots. And then there's other times where I feel like, I'm just getting like taken out left and right, and it just kind of depends. And you feel it's a little all over the place. And I think Travis said it well. It's like the inconsistency doesn't allow you to really, as you said, either hone your craft or feel like was it luck, or were they good, or were they bad, or was I good? It's like there's just too many questions to really know and register in your mind, and they kind of say something at one point that actually gets to that. Get it? So I'll keep going. They said this can feel bad as the match outcome feels essentially random, and you don't feel motivated to try and win. That's literally it. I mean, outside of rewards, we've talked about Crucible rewards. We know like that may need some work at some point, but if you don't know if you're doing good or bad in the first place, how do you literally register? It's like, yeah, I got a kill, but when you look back and be like, cool, I got that one, but then the next match you just completely are on the other side. Like you were in the like Stranger Things, and the next match you're in the upside down. What caused that to you? And it's just, and it does feel like it is so all over the place. I think as you guys said, just the lack of consistency, the randomness. It doesn't feel like there's not like a steady mountain that you can climb. It feels like you're going through peaks and valleys all the time, and there's not a lot that you can wrap your head around to know, did I excel there? Why did I get crapped on? This one went well. Oh my God, I walked around the corner into 5 team shots. Like, those definitely happen.
Yeah, I just want to add on, and this is when they talk about the problems. The sentence right after is my biggest issue, right? Because it literally affects what I want, right? Which is better rewards in the Crucible. And they literally say this has contributed us to
de-emphasizing winning.
Listen to that statement. That has contributed.
Say it again. Say it again. The whole thing.
This can feel bad as the match outcome feels essentially random and you don't feel motivated to try to win. This has contributed to us de-emphasizing winning as a requirement to gain rewards in the Crucible. That is a damning statement.
Like, and I hate, and that was one of the lines that hurt when I was just like,
isn't that clear though? That's why they always give you objectives that are like, you can do this even if you suck at the game. And then that also precipitates it, because then it makes it then people are in matches trying to accomplish side objectives and not even worrying about winning the match. And that's another pet peeve of mine, is when you enter a match and it's clear that the team you're playing with isn't even trying to win. They're just trying to do something else. They're trying to like meme their way through the match. It's crazy.
Or that exotic quest they got from the battle pass that forced them to get the catalyst to do some type of kills in PvP, and then they out. And you see everybody with the same gun doing the same thing. That'd be funny to me too. Oh my God. But I'm with you, man. I'm with you. But that statement, I was like, wow. It was like bold, clear as day with what they doing. And I'm like, okay, interesting. We got some info. We got a defender. Let's go. A new challenge.
Okay, video is gonna look weird for a second, but Shadow is here. I don't know if you can see us or not.
Sorry for messing up your video.
No. I was like, I don't care about the video. This is like, I mean, I've literally wanted to get multiple people in here, like Physics, you, Cool Guy, a Nomad. Like, if I could get like a whole bunch of heads together. But I know even on Twitter there were some thoughts about SPMM. So as you are, I think for not having SPMM, if I probably said that poorly, but okay, let me just hear your side of this whole thing since you're jumping in.
Yeah, so I actually tweeted out that skill-based matchmaking stands for super bad matchmaking.
That's what I saw.
Instead of skill-based matchmaking. And, I mean, to be clear, I mean, I'm talking exclusively about control in that tweet, and because I mean that's kind of the topic of the TWAB. They're only changing it in control at this time. So, my take on it is that like 6v6 is supposed to be the casual playlist, the social playlist, the playlist you play with your friends, the playlist where you can just hang out and relax and use off meta stuff, or sweat it out if you want. I don't care. But I think that if people want a skill-based matchmaking experience, they should just go play one of the playlists that has skill-based matchmaking, because there are playlists that already have it. And you know, having playlists without it, like Control is right now, I feel like that's kind of an essential part of many people's PvP experience.
Okay, so let me ask you this, just from a very average player's point of view. I am an average player. I go into a match and I have a roller coaster of an experience depending on the match. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but I don't do well. Do you feel, okay, so there's an example. If you say, so do you think any skill-based matchmaking should be in Control at all? Do you think there should be 0, loose, tight? Where do you feel SPMM should be in Control? Just for an example. None?
Personally, I'd have none in the Control playlist, but I mean, if you want to fudge it, I might be convinced to say like, if you wanna not match day one players with the people who've been, super sweats,
You, for
like that's
example.
fine. Yeah, I mean, if you want to not match me with people who literally installed the game today, that's fine. But it's really it's a slippery slope, because once you start doing that, then you just keep escalating, and eventually it's like, oh, you only match people who are like almost as good as you, and then it's like, oh great, so now I have to wait 9 minutes for my queue time, and it's going to match me against people who are the same as me. So
Okay, so
that's a pretty awful experience.
No, so that's fair. And that's one thing they do get to is connection matching times. If you could take connection matching times out of the equation, which I know is obviously an impossible thing to do realistically, but if connection matching times weren't a thing, say take a scale of 1 to 10. And I know you're saying like so right now you're saying a 1 shouldn't match a 10. But do you think a 2 should match a 10? Or where do you feel that range is connection times out of it? Again, just the true matchmaking of a general pool. Where do you feel is a reasonable range that, say, put yourself as a 10? How low do you think should be facing against you?
I don't know. It's a tough question. I think, like I said, I would just have it be completely open and have no skill-based matchmaking. But if I had to have skill-based matchmaking, I don't think I would go higher than like a 2.
Okay.
Just one.
All right.
Question.
No, go ahead. Yeah, no, Cog. I gotta get Travis in here in a second, but Cog, you got something first.
I just get 2 questions because I want to make sure I'm clear with Shadow's stance, right? So basically, from what I hear, your mindset is 6s is a casual mode, and 6s is something that you want to kind of experiment, try different things, and because of 6s, you don't want skill-based matchmaking in that mode. Are you against skill-based matchmaking in the other modes? My question is, do you want skill-based matchmaking completely removed from Destiny in its entirety? Is my question.
No, I do not. I mean, I think there are plenty of modes where it makes sense or could make sense. Like right now, the way that survival is, that's totally fine. If people want to play against people who are in their skill level, sure, go play a mode that has it in. That's what I said originally.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just think that there needs to be like at least a healthy amount of playlists that don't have skill-based matchmaking, and then if they're also there can also be ones that do have it. That's perfectly fine.
So basically, it's 6s. If I'm clear, right? It's just that. Okay, I see where you go. Okay. All right, I'm gonna let Travis. I just wanted to clarify. So I just wanted to know if he did not want skill-based. I just had to know it. But Travis, I know you chopping at the bit. You got stuff you want to say.
Yeah, no, he's still wrong. And the reason
I knew it was coming.
No, he is.
This is the conclusion. This is the conclusion we came to last time when I was on the show. A couple months ago.
It's good to rehash it when it comes up, and you were free for 5. I was surprised you were free. I was like, yeah, get on here if you can. So
I appreciate the consistency. He was wrong last time on the show too. So.
Travis's views are not all the views of the Last Word podcast.
Look, the problem with that theory that there should be certain playlists with no skill-based matchmaking is the very things that you state as being problems for implementing skill-based matchmaking, like lower play counts and long wait times. Those exist because we don't have skill-based matchmaking. Because people who jump into playlists that are ollie oxen free, those are not playlists that people want to be a part of, especially when they're learning the game or the new players or they're low skill. It doesn't give them a chance to develop skills, and they drop off the mode. They stop playing it, and then that drops the player population. And so if you have absolutely no protection for players, the only people it benefits are people like you. They're people who are at the top of the playlist who are either going to get maybe a sweaty match sometimes, but most of the time they're going to be able to just have fun and experiment with the meta. But the people that never get to experiment with the meta are the people who need to experiment with it the most. The people who are at the lower end, who have no protections whatsoever. And so, it's like when you're building a society, you got to protect your most vulnerable citizens to a certain extent. You can't just laissez-faire, your PvP economy. And so I think that I get what you're saying. Not every mode needs to be extremely strict, and I agree with that. I think that if you're building a competitive playlist, you should only be matching against people who are gold 2 if you're in gold 2, and that's a really strict requirement. But if you're in a freelance playlist, there still needs to be some protections. It's like if you're dating, right? If you're 10, you're not going to date anybody near 7 or lower, and so you shouldn't be doing PvP against them. If you're 2,
Like, where did we just get to?
Hold on.
I'm trying to say this in an entertaining way. If you're 2, then you shouldn't be in the same room as an 8, 9, or 10. Right?
Shot, Trav.
All of a sudden, we just got
hold
hold on.
I'm hot right now. I've been working
Shadow,
out.
what's up?
Stay in your lane is what I have to say. Don't.
You asking what car I drive to? And I'm
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, you go.
Shadow, what I'm trying to say, in this is the nicest possible way I could put it, is Shadow, you're a 10, and so you're either
damn. You might want to take him out to dinner first. So wow, look forward.
Yeah, stupid. He said, "Well, thank you."
You're either going to be dating a 9 and you're going to be feeling pretty good about yourself, or you're going to be dating a 1 and it feels like charity. But either way is a good position for you because you're at the other end. But the problem with your worldview is it's completely devoid of the other half of the equation, which, by the way, are most players. And it's not how you build an inclusive PvP system. It's not how you get more people to play your game. It's not how you build a PvP sandbox. If you're a 1, you should be playing with 4s and lower, and that's you can say all you want about player populations and wait times and that sort of stuff, but if you want those problems to be solved, you're not going to do it by making playlists less fun to be in, harder to gain skills in, because the only people who get all the advantages you're talking about of not being sweaty and getting to experiment are the people who are already good at the game.
All right, now you've spoken. Shadow, your rebuttal.
Yeah. Something first of all, something I want to mention is you mentioned like people in gold 3 matching people in gold 3. I just want to say like that's completely different from skill-based matchmaking. Like I actually would love to see a rank-based matchmaking where it's like you rank up your points and if you can match people in your rank, that's fine. Skill flies out the window at that point. I mean, like you could be the best player in the world and be in the lowest rank just because you haven't played it. But I mean, after a few games or after I don't know how many games it would take, but I mean, it's assumed after a while that the best players are the best rank and the newer players or the worst players are at the lower ranks. I think that would be great. And I feel like especially if they put actually meaningful rewards behind that playlist, it could be like super powerful. But for 6v6, I mean, I think that the 6v6 is not competitive no matter how you put it. And earlier you guys were touching on the whole like winning de-incentivized thing or like de-emphasized. And honestly, I think that is fine for 6v6 because even if you're a 10, even if you're the best player in the world, like it's gonna be difficult for you to single-handedly win a 6v6 game for your team. Like there's 11 other people in the lobby. Chances are you aren't going to be the deciding factor of the game. So I don't think that like people should be sweating out like, oh, I gotta protect my win percentage in 6v6. I mean, especially if you're solo queuing, that's like completely useless. So yeah, I personally don't care about winning at all in 6v6 just because like I said, I mean, it's de-emphasized from a loot perspective, and I mean, I can't. I would stress out so much if I cared about winning in 6v6 because I'd be like, oh, my teammates are throwing, Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I want to jump in real quick because you guys are making some good points. I definitely align with Travis on the lower end and overall player population, right? Because the reality is they do represent the majority of the people you need for engagement, right? But my thing is, I want to ask you this, Shadow, which was, I don't know if you missed it when we came in, and the statement they made where they were saying how because of these type of experiences, whether it be because the lower end is now either leaving the game or whatever reason they're saying that this is a not enjoyable experience for this group of players, and let's be honest, that's probably the majority of the base, that is de-emphasizing them to emphasize rewards and to focus on rewards. I want to know, like, when you hear Bungie say a statement like that, because I don't know what side of the fence you are. I know I'm on the heavy reward side, and like I'm the guy that like liked when Recluse and Mountaintop was in the mix, right? Regardless to they were, you know, maybe OP later, but at least there was these you know, these goals to attain for once you hit rank level. So I wanted to know, like, what did you feel when you read that statement on Bungie's thought process?
So are you talking about the part where it says this has contributed to us de-emphasizing winning as a requirement to gain rewards in the Crucible?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think for 66 that makes total sense, because like I said, I mean, if there's 11 other people in the lobby, like you shouldn't have to stress about your teammates and, you know, all the other people in the lobby. For other modes like Trials, I mean, I think winning still definitely does matter. Flawless is still a thing, so I don't think they've really de-emphasized winning as a requirement for rewards.
You like them glory rewards?
They have.
Like,
I mean, you get rewards on Trials even if you don't win now, and I think that's a good improvement, by the way. But
yeah,
it
that's
speaks
fair.
to the game design of like they have a PvP mode where there's a winner and a loser, and the main reason you're in the match is to win or lose, and people don't actually care about that. And at that point, what like that's not really a PvP match. I mean, that's
I think there should definitely be modes where winning matters a lot in terms of rewards. So
yeah, agreed. And the thing I would say about your 6v6 is, you know, generally I agree it is a more casual mode, but in order for those matches to feel good, there still has to be some semblance of order. And the reason, you know, you said earlier, if you're playing with 11 other people, you're not going to be able to carry your entire team. And I think that speaks to the fact that Destiny has bad matchmaking, because you should never be in that situation where you feel you have to carry your entire team. You should be playing with 5 people on your team who are similar in skill to you against 6 people who are similar in skill to you, so that none of you feels like you have to carry the team. You all just play your best, and then hopefully the team that works together the best or has the better game will win. And I think the fact that there is such a lack of like structure to their matchmaking right now is the reason that when you get into a match, it feels like the wild, wild west, and you feel like you have to carry 5 other people. That's an unfortunate side effect, I think, of the bad skill matchmaking that they're doing right now. That skill-based matchmaking, or at least some structure to how they group people together based on skill, would be able to fix. And you know, I would just like to see them try it. I'll say this for you, Shadow, which is that you're absolutely right that this is the wrong playlist to start this out on. It's crazy that they picked this. And my guess is the reason that they picked this is because it's probably the one with the highest player population, and they want to actually do like a real test on this thing. So I get the reasoning, but it's odd when they see the actual competitive game mode, the mode that's called comp, languishing as a playlist and having absolutely no hope. And then they're like, well, let's try something that probably should be applied somewhere else over on the 6v6 super social.
Does competitive even exist anymore, or is it just called survival?
Yeah,
bro,
for sure.
Yeah, since Trials came out, that's how I feel. Yeah, it's like since Trials came back, which I feel like comp is an afterthought. Like comp is, and that's where I'm in a complete trash of my thought, because that's where I'm in agreement with. I'm like, I thought that's the test bed we gonna do this with, and let's get the 4s popping, right? Let's see what's going on there in the actual competitive mode where skill-based matchmaking plays more of a factor. So that's why I'm in alignment with both of you there. I completely was surprised by that. That glory is like we still not talking about that.
Yeah,
but,
no, I think we can all agree.
One day at a time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think like literally everybody here, all 4 of us can say, glory, comp, survival, whatever that thing is right now, needs a rework. A ladder would be amazing. You know, your bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. You know, if you can get up to onyx, put rewards behind that structure as well. That would do a ton. For one, to incentivize the more hardcore to go climb that ladder, to give the lower people a place to be around their mindset. My question to you, Shadow, now after listening to everybody, I think we all agree, comp needs a rework, would be great if it would do a lot of things probably to give people a reason to go. Then you do have something like a Rumble or a Control or a Clash or a Scorch or whatever outside of Trials that is kind of your a little more in between. So my question to you is, do you have any like general things against skill-based matchmaking, whether it's like this would be like a bulleted list, like matchmaking time, can't test off meta stuff. Are there things like that you would have opposition to SBMM just kind of on a general level?
Yeah, so I mean, I think all the things that Bungie laid out in the TWAB make sense. I mean, there's matchmaking times. There's, like they set up these like all these different factors that they're trying to prioritize when they do the matchmaking. There's connection quality. There's connection to the server, connection to the other players, stuff like that. I think like the fact that I sometimes like match people from the other side of the planet, even when connection is at like the top of the priority, I think that's a little screwed up. Like, I don't know. I feel like even right now where it's, supposedly purely connection based, I'm still matching people from the other side of the planet in like the middle of the day. It's like, I feel like that's only going to get worse. And I have friends that are, from areas of the world where Destiny is not as popular, and they only match people from the other side of the planet, and their connection is always awful. And I mean that only gets worse with skill-based matchmaking. There's no chance that gets better in any way. So I think connection is, a huge thing. Another thing, and I think I brought this up last time, and Travis disagreed with me. The whole idea of progression, it gets really screwed up with skill-based matchmaking. Like when I was a brand new player in Destiny 1 and I sucked, I still didn't like the theory of skill-based matchmaking, because no matter how good you get, people are just right there with you. Like, isn't like one of the main reasons to improve so that you can start like playing better against your opponents? And if your opponents are just going to constantly get better with you, why would you improve? Like, if your chance of winning is going to be 50-50 if you're a complete noob, and if your chance of winning is going to be 50-50 if you're the best player in the world, like, why would you ever want to become the best player in the world if your chances of success are always going to be the same, because the game just keeps making your opponents more difficult and more difficult and more difficult?
Okay, so
I mean, you're still getting better though, just to be clear. There's still value in you becoming a better player. It's not like if it's all about just, if I'm better, then I should win a higher percentage of my matches. You'll be able to do it in trials if it's card based. You'll be able to do it every season if you're climbing a ranked ladder. You'll be able to do it if you do a private match against your friends and you're just kind of dabbing on them. Like, it doesn't exist in a vacuum where your win ratio is the only sign that you're better or worse. I mean, I can see why I disagreed with you last time. This is making sense.
It depends on the mode. I mean, if you only play the 6v6 control that has skill-based matchmaking, like it really depends. I mean, if you're a player who plays every PvP mode, then yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, there's modes where getting better does, really matter. But if in a world where there is strict skill-based matchmaking, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but in a world where there's a strict skill-based matchmaking, I mean, your opponents will always be as good as you. So, no matter how good you get, you're still going to have like a similar experience. And at least in my view, the reason why a lot of people are driven to improve in any game is so that they can start like seeing themselves get better relative to their opponents. Like day 1, they go in and they get stomped and they're like, dang, this sucks. Day 30, they're like, okay, I'm not doing great, but I'm at least surviving. And then day 1,000, they're like, wow, I can actually like defeat the majority of people I come across. And that's progression.
I gotta push back. Shadow, you think the guy that got his soul snatched, pumped into the ground, spat on, is coming back after day 2 and 3? Like,
I mean, that's what I did, bro.
Bro, you a different type of beast, bro. Like, listen, I know dudes. Let's be honest, like. We got to use the word. The casual audience, they gonna come in and they want to have a somewhat positive experience, right? Right. So they may not win, but it's like, hey, yo, we got him. We almost had him that one, man. We almost had him, to kind of incentivize to stick around. If you crush these guys, they are exiting stage and they can be like, yo, bro, I'm an Apex main now. I'm a Fortnite main now. Like, I can't do this Destiny thing. And I think that's where we got to have some empathy for those guys. Not saying that you don't. I'm not saying that you don't. I'm just saying I know I can relate as one of those dudes at one point.
I was one of those dudes. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean,
here's what I'll tell you, Shadow.
Yeah.
The skill-based matchmaking is not the biggest threat to you having a fun experience where you play against casuals and win a lot of matches. The biggest threat to that is if all the casuals that you would be able to fight against leave and the only people who
Well,
are
that-
in your queue
It's
are
him.
people
He
who
gonna
are
get
just
skill-based
like you.
matchmaking anyway.
Yeah, you're gonna get him anyway. Highlander self-hatred based matchmaking, which like
I want to point out
that's not what you want.
this isn't a self-interested or self-serving argument.
I know. I
from my
believe
point
you
of view,
believe
and
it. I believe you.
I think there are a lot of players out there who, you know, they don't create content, they don't have any social media, like their only concern is their own experience, and I totally get that point of view. But I think what a lot of people don't realize who make comments like, "Oh, content creators just want to stomp noobs," it's like a lot of content creators have their livelihood who's like directly related to the health of the game, and they genuinely believe. I mean, this is the case with me. I genuinely believe that skill-based matchmaking in 6v6 is not for the better health of the overall population, the overall game. So it's not like, oh, I just want to stomp noobs, or oh, I think this is going to make a better experience for me myself. No, I mean sure that matters to me, but I think I'm way more concerned with the overall health of the game. Okay, and so I think that's a lot of content creators have pointed that out. Like their new philosophy is like, you know, I don't care about myself. I just want what's best for the game, because that honestly does sometimes lead to a better experience for themselves, right? You mentioned like population numbers go up, then the top players have more people to defeat. So I mean, you know, go for you know however way you want to look at it.
I feel your point. Can we be brutally honest too? There is, and I'm not saying this is you at all. We just been having a fair, honest discussion. There is a strong portion of high-level content creators whose content is based on, hey, I could get you to the lighthouse. I can give you an easy run, right? Because I am so skilled that I could drag you along. And if this kind of happens, it goes against brand, because now maybe they still will, but it'll be a harder time to go there. So I just wanted to be fair to both sides on that side, because it's like, I get it. I just think that if we look at it objectively of what the base consists of, there's more casual players in that base. And to me,
100%.
The health of a game, you need those guys to stick around. If we don't get
100%,
those guys, we don't get those guys, man, and it really deteriorates the overall health. So it's going to be on them to figure this out. But I'm with you, Shadow, on sixes not necessarily being the right test bed to do it with. I'm with you there. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why I can be in the middle with you on that part, because I'm like, the mode that really needs it is comp, fours, you know, that kind of thing, or if you're going to play with trials, stuff like that. So it was weird to me for them to do it like that. But listen, they got their work cut out for them. This is not going to be easy. We got, obviously, this community is very vocal. We all feel strongly. Everybody's making fantastic points. You know, I don't envy them. Let's just say that.
No.
They're going to piss someone off. The key is going to be with them. That's the last thing, and I'll give it to you, E. Is the data, because we know Bungie loves their data. They love their analytics. You see these little dice charts. You see these graphs, y'all. You see this graphs, little colors and stuff like that. So that's going to be the ultimate say. And it's going to be interesting once they implement what actually happens with those engagements. I'm very curious. And that's where we can all agree to disagree, because then Shadow will come back and say, look at them engagement numbers. Y'all wanted da-da-da-da, right? We going to see how this thing play out. So I'm very curious.
I am as well, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, all of you guys have some pretty interesting points. For me, like you see, if you go look at the bell curve, I think that's kind of one of the interesting charts to look at. Is you got the bell curve and where the population, the median of that population sits, they said, right at about 100 for their skill level chart, -1,000 to 1,000. So I guess my question for you, Shadow, as an experiment. Now, granted, I don't want to see you guys get 10-minute matchmates. That's stupid. But I feel like Bungie has this idea in their mind, if it's not a 60-minute matchmaking thing, it's like they've failed. But if they went up to like 90 seconds for generally more matches, that I feel like there's got to be a little give and take. And they said that some of the matchmaking times are going to be longer. No, do I think anyone should have to wait 10 minutes to get a match because they're trying to match with somebody in, like, you know, Japan's trying to match with South America, which is trying to match with New York, and it's like, and everybody's laggy. I get that point. And again, that's where the ladder is like, you're going to be in your ladder. That's going to be your tight, very strict matchmaking. But to a point, when you look at this skill graph, if I look at somebody who's like -800, And then you look at somebody on the other side who's like an 800 skill. In my head, if those two are ever on opposing teams, that feels like the 800 has a really crappy day, and the negative 800 has a really crappy day, and then the 800 has, an easy target, basically, in my head. Now, this is just the example. As the population is 50% is 100 and above, even if you just for their loose SBMM for, say, control, or as Travis is saying, general modes need to have still some, and this is kind of where I was saying the outlier protection, that's why I was asking you. I was like, I guess for me is like, if you take, where do you find the benefit for, somebody who's at a negative 600 matching into a match for you, not from your side, but do you feel like a negative 600 gets anything out of matching into a match with you or anybody at 800, 900, 1000? Do they get anything out of that match? Or is there a point where if you have 1000 to negative 200 of the pool to work with, which is most of them, the people who are below that probably could work from 600 up to maybe like 400, but you're just outside of that window. Most of the population, like 70, 75% of population's in that group, but there are some that wouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So what's the question? Do you have a question?
No, the question, like, kind of going back, because you were saying you don't want SBMM in control. I was like, do you, from like the 800, like the negative 800, do they get anything out of being in a match with an 800, like somebody who's 1600 points apart from them on this little bell curve? Is there a benefit for them being in the match against somebody who's that far ahead?
I don't know about, it really depends where you draw the line. I think there's certainly a benefit to playing against people who are like notably better than you. I think that's the fastest way to improve. Anyone who has ever been in the competitive scene in any game will tell you, like, the fastest way to improve is play against people who are better than you, play with people who are better than you, learn from what they do, right? And also you become a much smarter player, because if you're playing against people who are better than you, you won't get away with a bunch of bad habits and mistakes. If you're playing people like exclusively at your skill level and you happen to be at 0.2 KD or something, you get away with basically everything, and you won't really learn like what it takes to like make a good play. So I think there's definitely a benefit to, in terms of skill progression alone, I think there's definitely a benefit to playing against people who are significantly better than you. But if you want to match a guy who's on, like I said, day one of the game versus someone who's been playing for years, that obviously they're going to get stomped, and they probably won't learn very much, if they're getting absolutely annihilated and they have literally like 1 or 2 kills, but I think, to a certain extent, playing people that better you is like an okay thing.
And I was like,
I agree.
Yeah, I get that to, as you said, to an extent. And I think that's kind of where hopefully their loose matchmaking kind of does get like the new player away from the, Trials, Carry, Godstream, or like those, the outliers. There should be a pretty decently wide range. So that way it's like, hey, I won a gunfight, but also, man, that guy was like vertical. I need to figure out how to jump more. And part of it is on the player mindset too. Like, you go look up any person, you can walk into a PvP match and be like, oh no, I didn't shoot my gun right. It's like, okay, well, you got to practice a little bit. But there's also a point to where if I do want to practice, there's probably a level, like, I shouldn't go shoot hoops against LeBron. He's going to stuff every shot.
Exactly.
Right.
And
I was like,
but you're going to get better. Just keep going.
No, I'm never going to get better against LeBron. Hey. Every shot is going to get 100 out of 100 get stuff against that man.
Hey, get good, bro.
You get better by playing against players that are somewhat better than you, that are reasonably better than you within a certain degree, because like, I'll get better if I go up against another boxer in the featherweight division, but I don't want to be that dude that got I don't want to be that dude that got beat on by Mike Tyson on the airplane. You know what I mean? Like, that guy didn't learn anything that day about boxing. He wasn't taking tips from that. He's just getting his ass whooped. So I just think that's why you want protections. This is like good game design. So I generally agree. Like, there should always be people in your playlist that are above you and people that are below you. Well, unless you're the worst player or the best player, then that's always going to be true. But you want to put in some guardrails. Otherwise, people atrophy. They throw off the game. And you don't want that. It's self-destructive to the own thing that you're trying to build. And I think Bungie has sort of let it go for a long period of time, and it's great that they're finally talking about it. If they want to get serious about PvP again, it needs to be a discussion on the table, because the server populations aren't there to support really anything that they want to do right now. So why would they invest time in it? They need to fix the real problem.
Yeah, and I think the right approach is getting look. PvP got a ton of issues. We ain't got no damn maps. We barely got a rift mode. We just getting little scraps on the kitchen table now, and we getting a little excited. So the thing first is the core base. This type of discussion that we're having, right? And like getting that right, getting the matchmaking right, and all that, and then the proper love with the modes, the maps, the actual rewards, and then we kind of get back to where we need to be. Because at the end of the day, and we've said it for the longest, I think we all in agreement here that when Destiny PvP is good, it can carry it during these lulls, during the lull of a solstice, and as we've done all the story. If PvP was popping right now and people are really engaged, well, I think we all agree it's better for the health of the game. So the good thing is they're finally starting to talk about this side of the house seriously. We all have our thoughts, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think overall it's still the right direction, right? It's still, hey, this thing needs love. We understand it. Let's implement it, and let's see how it goes. And hopefully they take the feedback and we get to where we need to be.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we all want ranked. We all would love some maps.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I mean, a little variety goes a long way too. Is like if you're not seeing the same 3 maps in a cycle of Iron Banner for a week straight when you're trying to grind out a title, then that gives you a little more.
That's tough.
Yeah, so it's like those are moments where the issues, and it's like, and I don't want any high or low skilled player to be like trying to find that group of people that's somewhat near them that takes like a 10-minute match. I don't want that. That's why I was like, I actually think they're kind of dancing a reasonable line with this loose matchmaking. If you got a scale of 1 to 10 and you go like 3 to 10 and 1 to 7 and you're like, cutting out the ends, I feel like it's going to be reasonable. Is it going to be the magic for everybody? No, but hopefully Shadow doesn't have a 10-minute matchmake. Maybe his is 2 minutes instead of 1. But also on the other side, if the population grows by people having slightly more better matches, then in general, then your population time maybe over the course of time could actually get shorter if the population grows because more people are having a better time in there. But this is something, as we've all probably talked about since it was 3 years without anything, that this needs consistency for people to actually stick with the mode. Some rewards, obviously a good thing. The ranking we've talked about would be wonderful. But if more people stay in the mode and grow these playlists just in general overall, then your 2-minute matchmaking now comes down to 90 seconds. And yet more people are having a better experience in general matches, and more people can hopefully start climbing up into your skill pool too. I don't know. For me, I feel like this is like an experiment, but that hopefully won't piss too many people off as long as they have like all the dials and sliders correct. Because if it's one of those things where they think it's right and then it launches and it's completely horrible, it's one of those things I think could be actually worse. So hopefully like the testing, the dials, and the matchmaking algorithm is doing what they want it to do. Because if it comes in all of a sudden like I'm fighting nothing, I have like a lobby of like shadows and cool guys, and then there's like my team for some reason has like me and all the people worse than me. I'm like, and that's just like all I'm getting. Then some people are going to be really confused. If it doesn't do anything completely broken like that, I think it is a step in a reasonable direction that hopefully is a balance. Because I understand Shadow's points of view. It's like sometimes you want to go in, experiment, or to a point, but I also feel like on Travis and Cog's side as well, the general population, we want to build that up. And as a lot of people have said, it's to a point where whatever helps that population number grow, I know a lot of people have just kind of come to hopefully accepting whatever that is.
Yeah, man. The fun that is Bungie and the PvP sandbox.
Yeah.
Can I just say their change of matching teams against teams? That's one of like the best like matchmaking changes they've ever done, in my opinion.
We here, Shadow. We here, bro. I said the fact that they even acknowledged that in a bullet point was huge to me.
Yeah,
like,
the fire team size for season 19 is where we're looking at. So that will be a little
Yeah, it's
later.
a bit far out.
Yeah, I was like,
But yeah, people have been asking for this forever, so I'm glad it's a thing.
I guess
it's becoming a
for
thing.
part of me is like, how is that not already a thing? Because you could take using my random number, algorithm. If you could take a team of 6s, you would probably match those up against like a bunch of randoms or 2s or solos of like 7s, or like they need to be matched to somebody above because of what that team coordination can do. Like, and again, is it going to be that tight? No, but it's like the team's general skill versus like the solos, somewhere that team needs like a team advantage bump because there's 6 people sitting in a Discord. Yeah, they've got an advantage over people even at their skill level playing solo. So it's like the fact that it's acknowledged is huge, and it's kind of one of those I'm just still surprised is apparently taking a little while to get noticed. Because I don't know why, for some reason, you'll go into a lobby and you're like, why does it feel like all 6 solos are going against teams of 6? It feels like that sometimes because all of a sudden you just seem to be, I'm by myself. I'm with a whole bunch of random people I don't know. And those people all seem to be talking to each other the entire time. I was like, so no, the fact that you mentioned the fire team size, I think that's another piece too that will hopefully help that as well, because they mentioned teams making a massive difference when it comes to skill under the bell curve. But no, the fire team size would be huge.
Oh yeah.
And that hopefully, if that can take away the need for freelance in say like trials, theoretically, if it's very weighted for solos to be solos, but every so often I'm fighting, okay, finally I found a two team versus, 1 and 3. Okay, that's okay every so often. But like if I generally see most people who are like me and then the 3s generally see more of the 3s, that's fair on both ends of the equation, I feel.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that could be the solution, right? Because they split the pool like a trillion ways with freelance sometimes. So I feel like that could be a solution to not exactly split the pool, but make it so that everyone's still queuing into the same thing and everyone's hopefully having a pretty decent experience.
Yeah, or they can stop making separate playlists for each game mode and just throw a bunch of them into. There should be 2 playlists.
Like party
right?
list, little Halo party.
There should be a casual playlist where it just mixes and matches all the different game modes, and then a competitive one. That's like.
Oh yeah, I would love if like
juggle player populations. That's easy way to do it.
Yeah, Control, Flash, Rumble, I think should be in there too, just to make people occasionally play solo. Like all of those random playlists that are, under this current connection-based thing, put those all in one and then queue up and be like, oh, okay, I'm by myself. I got to pay attention and like let everybody know. And then, okay, now it's Clash, just kills, and tell people, or Zone Control. And then it's pure objective and have people rotate through those. But again, it's just one big group of people getting dumped into the same pool.
Yo, it'd be hot if you had this mode that they created called Fiesta, and it's like a gun game.
Oh, dude, I still want an exotic. I want an exotic gun game in this. Are you kidding?
The mode that they created themselves back in the day, and like just go bring that over here because you got like some of the best exotics going and weapon design and like that. How cool would that be, right? You start off and everybody get a Rat King. You know what I'm saying? Everybody like, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like you could do so much.
They would be allowed to experiment with stuff like that if they would consolidate some of their playlists, because that's the problem is you go and you do something, you make like a Scorch game and you either have to look like, rotate it out once a month, or you make it its own playlist and then, nobody clicks on that little button, or nobody even knows that little button exists. How many people
they use like Scorch and Mayhem because they're fast and then they just AFK.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you know what? There shouldn't even be a freelance button on any of these playlists. If you click on, a Crucible playlist and you're not in a party with any other people, it should automatically know that and it should match you with other freelance players. Why is there a separate node? I have so many problems with Bungie's multiplayer design right now. The sandbox just makes no sense.
Well, the only problem with that is that if you have a team of 2 in trials, like obviously a solo player has to fill that 3rd spot, so you have to still have at least some of them coming in. I mean, same with a team of 5 in 6v6 or whatever.
Buttons for it, you know what I mean? They could just decide. They could organically identify and match people.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because then they leave it up to players making mistakes because players don't know about that.
Someone accidentally queuing into the team one. Yeah, I do that all the time.
I was like, there's people in my chat that have said, there's a freelance button, and they're like, no. Yeah, that's a thing I've seen. Yeah. I did want to ask you, Shadow, the Trials map. We had Rusted Lands, Widow's Court, and Eternity. What did you vote for?
I didn't actually vote, but I would probably vote for Widow's Court.
You like sniping. That's not surprising.
Honestly, though, I'm not a huge fan of any of them, and I haven't played Trials a whole lot this season. I don't know if I'm going to be playing it this week, so I'm not super concerned.
I was very surprised Eternity won, I guess. I don't know, maybe chat let me know, but I was just surprised to see Eternity, because I voted Widow's Court. If you like sniping, cool, I get that. And that was 31%. And Rusted Lands, I feel like, has kind of lanes for all the options. I was just surprised Eternity. I don't ever picture this as being the map that people really want to play.
I'm surprised by that. Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Maybe just because it's relatively new. People are like, we've played Widow's Court and we've played Rusted Lands for the last 5 million years.
True.
So, I mean, even though it's not a new map, it's still one
map.
that new, kind of new, fake new. Yeah,
Fake new.
They polished it up.
The least played in recent history. So I guess people. I mean, I can understand people saying like, I want to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I did. I voted for Eternity just because I feel like I've played the other maps way too much.
See,
that's fair.
I'm seeing that in chat. Actually, that seems to be a thing. Okay, a couple of hot questions, Shadow, and then I don't know what your time is like, and then I can let you go. Which raid on August 23rd? Which raid do you want to see come back?
Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, okay. First of all, do you guys think that there's any chance at all of them bringing back a D2 raid?
You know the way they phrased it?
What a curveball that would be.
No, they literally phrased it. They said, we'll be our second at bringing a raid out of the Destiny content vault. They didn't say D1. Now, granted, I feel like they said D1 like a year ago.
Yeah.
But like, it would definitely be like, and we're bringing back what if they, okay, here's the only one that might actually work. No, all of the Leviathan raids.
I know what you're going to say.
What if they did all of the Leviathan raids? What if they did Leviathan and then all apartment 2B and 2C?
We got my man Scarrow in here. And if I see that damn Spire stars.
Yeah, it's a D1 raid. That's what I thought.
Friday, y'all get ready. Let's go.
But I mean, like, they did half of the work for the Leviathan. It's partially there.
I know where you're going.
Dude, no, people would lose their mind. I do love the question, though. I think that would be one of those like moments where Bungie's like, let's see if we can get our community's head to explode.
Yeah,
they're gonna explode. All right.
Imagine they're listening right now and they're like, "Oh gosh, this is a mistake."
We'll ease them in.
But I mean,
to answer your question, though,
you get 4 raids if you brought back the whole Leviathan, though. I mean,
hold on, I gotta get Sparrow. He said he'd rather Spire than Kingsfall. We gotta do something about this.
Of course, he'd rather Spire than Kingsfall. Spire's his favorite raid.
This is
Sorry, I meant favorite strike. But yeah, it's his favorite.
Anyway, Shadow.
So to answer your original question from 10 years ago, I'd probably pick Kingsfall. Just from a personal perspective, I barely played that raid in D1, and nice. I think it was one that, I mean, even though I played it like probably only a couple times, I really enjoyed it. So I would love to see that come back.
Nice. Where do you feel on the Friday raid launch date? 3 days after. Yeah.
I mean, I've never really been a day one raider, so I'm like personally not super concerned about it. But for the overall community, I mean, I think generally people, have their whole, weekends off, and it works better for people who are in school and blah blah blah. Bungie, or I think Liana said that it was like a thing where they wanted to have people on their work days at Bungie so that if anything goes wrong, they can address it really fast. And I mean, I think that makes sense and that's fair as well. So,
and then finally, if we, how many maps do you think we are going to get next season for PvP?
None. I don't know. I really don't know. Have they said anything about like plans for maps per season or anything?
No, I was just curious because they've been pretty quiet about it. I was just curious if you had a number in mind. If it's 0, it's 0.
Yeah, well, wait, they're bringing. I think they said they were going to bring back maps, but not make a new one. if I remember correctly. So yeah, in that case, if we get like 1 or 2 old maps, sounds good. I highly doubt there'll be another brand new one.
Yeah, I think, what was it? Because we were supposed to get one new one, which we got the one with Rift this season. We were going to get like 2 reprised ones and then 1 from Destiny. Some order of something like that, I remember. So there might be 1 reprised or something coming back next season. And then what makes you the most excited about Arc 3.0? And then we'll wrap it up.
I think they kind of alluded to it kind of having some movement things in it, and I think that could be really cool. I mean, whether that's blink or some new movement ability, or I don't know. The potential is endless. There could be some really cool movement things. But I'm also just excited to see the general quality of life updates for the whole arc thing, with grenades being universal and just having more ability to build craft. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to it overall and seeing how it pans out in the sandbox.
Nice. That was kind of my quick fire. You guys got anything else for him before we wrap this thing up? Because we managed to steal a guest for an hour.
Nah, salute to Shadow. That was awesome. Salute to Shadow pulling up, man. Having some good fun debate. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think it's gotta be King's Fall, man. I gotta hear Savathun's voice. The Taken King will return. And the two lies. I mean, remember what Savathun said: the 2 lies, the 2 truths.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I gotta see that. Like, I gotta see her get her truth off. You know what I'm saying? Look, everybody, all my hardcore guys, y'all know I'm a VOD guy, and I know VOD get the slander, but I do respect King's Fall. And I miss it. It's time. Shout out to Jarv. He's out here putting up clips of D1.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting the feel like, yeah, I'm ready to shoot all the Urix now. Let's go. And I want to see the changes. Yeah, I want to see the changes. I want to see what's the subtle change. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's not King's Fall in his Wrath, I'm not gonna be mad. But if it's not King's Fall or Wrath,
yeah, if they do a Crota, if they do a D2 raid, I want to just like sit back with like the Stephen Colbert popcorn emoji and 3D glasses as the world explodes, man.
Bro, like, I don't want to see any of them apartment 2B, 2C Leviathan joints. I don't want to see Crown, and I don't want him. Well, it ties to the story of the next. Like, I don't want to see you right now, bro. Like, that's just
Scarrow would be pumped, dude. If we got back all of Leviathan, Scarrow would be like, sweet, my favorite raid's back, and everybody got like 3. Can you imagine if that was the day 1 raid challenge? You had to do the normal raid,
all of them.
and then you had to do the other 3 as well. You gotta do all 4.
Oh my god!
Better yet, put them all into one raid.
Yeah,
you just have to go straight from one to another.
The Callus down to the trash compactor, to Spyro stores to.
Yeah.
As someone who came from World of Warcraft, where raids are long, or at least some of them are long, I would love to see a long Destiny raid, dude. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
When I first came to Destiny, I was like, wait, that's it? There's only like a few bosses and like some like jumping puzzle, like in WoW, that some raids have like 15 bosses, that would be sick. I mean, even though, it would take long, I think it also added a culture of like, it's fine to go into a raid and only clear a few bosses. You don't have to go through the entire thing, because I mean, different bosses give different loot. So anyway, if they want to make a long raid, personally, I think that'd be super cool.
Scarrow's got the idea of King's Fall combined with Crota.
So
you start with Crota. People would be like, you start with the Crota strike, and then you go through like the portal, and then you go into King's Fall. I would be on board with that. That'd be actually kind of a cool twist. I don't expect.
Imagine they don't tell you and you just load it on day 1. Everyone's pissed.
Oh no, that'd be like, I'd love they don't tell you like what it is until the node goes live, and everybody's like, "Where's the node? Where's the node?" And then all of a sudden somebody finds it on the moon and it says Crota's in. They're like, "No!" And then you beat Crota, and then it's like it sucks you into King's Fall, and they're like, "Oh." Like, that would be one of the cool moments that unfortunately I was like, I never expected to happen. That'd be freaking awesome. So
yeah, which one you want?
King's Fall.
No doubt.
I like all those raids from D1, but I will be sad if we don't get Wrath because I love Siege Engine. But the reason I'm going to go with King's Fall actually has nothing to do with the encounters. It's because I'm hoping that they use this opportunity to not necessarily tell stories, because I know they don't want to tell new stories with the raid, but just thematically match up what's happening in Destiny with some of the old stuff, because I think the fact that King's Fall isn't playable in D2 is a detriment to people who are trying to understand the story that they're currently telling in Witch Queen. And so that's why I'm going to choose that one. I just want, they talk about orcs so much, and the fact that you can't do the raid where you fight orcs is kind of silly to me. So I would just like them to put it in there.
Makes Destiny 2 a bit more complete, even though we're still missing like the Red War and Forsaken, but eat them as we go. All right. Chat, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. So many of you, some awesome super chats. You guys have been great. If you are still hanging out, definitely make sure you guys hit the like button. Shadow.
Like bucket.
Like bucket. Yeah. It needs to be a bucket because there's so many likes. No, I'm kidding.
You fit the likes in there. Add your like to the bucket, everybody.
Add your like to the bucket. If you shoot from behind the line, it's 3 points. You got to go for the extra. No, but Shadow, thank you for dropping into the call. I was honestly didn't quite have one fell through, and I was wondering who I could ask, and I did not imagine your schedule was going to allow it. So very happy to see you in chat, and very happy to have you in here. So for those people who may have heard the last show or not, but definitely for a reprieve, where do people find all of your amazing, wonderful content? And you?
First of all, just want to say thanks for having me on. You can find me on YouTube at Shadow Destiny.
Beautiful.
Yeah, salute Shadow.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Very fun. Love discussion like that. It really. And I think people are listening to us. I don't care what nobody's. I'm gonna die on this hill. Bungie be paying attention to what our PvP discussions are, because this was something we've been asking for, a TWAB like this for the longest for the PvP community. So I think it's a great start.
If we get a ladder ranked playlist, then we'll know we were at least in the ear that voted for that somewhere.
Oh yeah.
I told you I know Bungie listens to the show. Sometimes they message me after the show to say things. I tell you that one of the ones that they messaged me about was when I said that I made the segregation joke about the small end using different bathrooms, and then somebody from Bungie hit me up and was like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
I think I do remember that, and I was like, of all the things that they hear, you're segregating falling into the small end bathrooms. I died.
Content. Yeah, some of our best content is we do those tower narratives about what happened during the Lakshmi era. Those be the fun shows.
Oh man,
yeah, that's good.
Travis, what are you working on? What's the next thing they can look for from you?
Yeah. You can read my review of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 on IGN. You can read my preview of Rollerdrome on IGN, and then next up, I'm doing a preview of Construction Simulator and a review that I can't talk about yet, but I'll probably be able to talk about it tomorrow. Other than that, follow me on Twitter at TyGuyTravis. Watch the show, watch my Sunday show, Bitcast, and thanks for listening to my aggressive takes on Crucible, everyone.
No doubt.
I love having you on here, Shadow. It's always great to hear your perspective.
Thanks, dude.
No doubt. You already know me at LordCognito on Twitter. Catch Iron Lord Podcast every Sunday. The Lord's Day. Should have some fun guests. Probably going to be talking about the esports community and some, just to see the rise of it. And we're going to have some corporate lawyers and things in that space, try to show why it's a growing community. So check that out. Justin Jacobson should be penciled in. So hopefully we should go catch that, learn a lot about what's going on in the scene. As far as Defining Duke, please support Mr. Manny Plays is back. His back is doing better. We just finished recording a good Duke, so go check that out. And then support Ultimates. I had Solve on. We were talking about life kind of after the Activision Blizzard potential acquisition. What are some other potential targets, things of that nature. And lordsofgaming.net, all the people in the show, everybody declared, everybody in the chat today. Real cool to see the discussion, everybody having fun, and of course Shadow pulling up. But E, what you got going on, man?
I just want to see the giant distinction between Shadow's outro and Cog's outro. Shadow's like me, be like, yeah, Ebontis everywhere, and Cog's got Cog knows too many people and things, and he's got so much to shout out. We got to pencil in a couple, and Travis is like, review Ebontis, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, cool. Shadow, yes. And then Cog is over here hold on, I gotta shout out 17 homies. They're over.
Do we have to give him the Oscar music?
Yeah, be like, we gotta start playing the music for him.
All right, man.
I'd like to thank my mom, and yeah.
No, we love you. It just cracks me up because yeah, some of us are. But that's part of the reason why we all love you is because you do shout out and support everybody that's near you, and you don't. You try not to forget anyone. It's really always quite impressive. So for me, yeah, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. I will try to get back on Twitch a little more. It's been off streaming because of lots of things, and I got injured, so we're finally getting back to being reasonable there. But Shadow, our pleasure to have you on. Perfect chat to have somebody on. And honestly, you're the exact person I wanted on to have the, balance to our equation. So thank you so much for having us. For joining
Thanks,
us.
dude.
I mean,
I saw the skill-based matchmaking, and I was like, "Oh, I know they're going to be talking about it."
Represent.
He's like, I have an opinion. Hello.
I love it. Love it. You gotta have it. That's what's great about debate. Having the balance, having that other side. It's the good stuff.
100%.
All right, for episode number 208 with the guest amazing appearance by Shadow. That's all we got for the night. So thank you very much. It has been
The last word.
The last word. Stream is done.